Okay, ladies, am I straight now? I think I'm straight. Can you hear me? Carol, can you hear me? And am I straight? Still sideways? Looks straight from my end, but then it did last time too. All right. Thank you so much for letting me know I was sideways. It looks straight from my end. Okay, as I was saying, today we are going to get messy. I just thought it was a good day to play with the Fine Art Floral Suite. And now I have feedback. Hang on just a second. I have to mute this. If it's not one thing, it's another. I'm getting feedback, so I have to mute my speakers. There we go. All right. So we are going to play with the Fine Art Floral Suite. This is found on page 32 to 34 of the January to June mini catalog. This is a fabulous suite of products. We're not playing with it all today. We're just going to play with some. Predominantly the Art Gallery bundle, which is this stamp set and the coordinating die set. Okay, let's get that out of the way and we will get playing. Okay, so the cards, or the pieces that I have for today's card, is a Melon Mambo. Now we haven't used that in a long time. Card base, and that's just your standard card base. And then for the inside, I have the new basic white. And I want to show you a comparison of that to the old Whisper White. Okay, so this was our Whisper White. Is the camera picking up the difference in that color? I'm hoping that it is. The Whisper White is more yellow, and this new basic white is a brighter white. Do you see the difference next to colored cardstock? I think it's going to be fabulous. I've stamped on it and I cannot tell a difference in the stamping, so that's a plus. And we are going to put this card liner on the inside of the card. Yes, Pam, yes, it is very much whiter, and I find that it makes the darker colors pop more. All right. So I do, in this suite, there's some gorgeous paper. I haven't received mine yet. It's on its way here, but I have not received it yet. So I'm substituting a different kind of paper today. Next, I have a basic black layer that we're going to put on the front there. And this is 4 by 5 1/4. So now we're going to have our completed card front so that we can work on our focal image. All right, I'm just going to set that aside out of the way. Next, I have a piece of Artistry Blooms. That is found in the annual catalog. You remember we've used this side before. This is the Artistry Blooms DSP. I have a piece that is 3 3/4 by 5. That's going to be our background piece. And I also have some scraps here. I'm going to show you a new technique today, and we're going to be using the gilding flakes. This is our Terran tape. We are going to use this Terran tape with gilding flakes. I've showed you how to use it with the heat and stick powder. Now I'm going to show you how to use it with gilding flakes. Or sorry, with Terran tape. So we are just simply going to run a strip of this Terran tape down our card, and I'm going to flip it over to the back side and trim that off. All right, easy peasy. Now, call me fussy, I don't like to see the seam because this is tape. When we use this, if you don't do what I'm doing right now, you will see the seam. So just lift this up a little bit, start right at the corner and go over that piece that you've already got there. That way it's seamless. And we're going to go right across the bottom. Once again, flip this over and trim it off. Just as easy as that. All right, so I'm only doing 2 edges on this card. You can do as much or as little as you desire. Okay, I'm just going to bring in a piece of scrap paper because, like I said, we are going to get messy. Now I'm just going to simply peel off those, we have no fingernails, the protective tape. Okay, and now we're going to bring in our gilding flakes. I absolutely love this product. This is not something new to me. This is how I learned years and years ago to use these flakes, is with the tape. I had never used it with heat and stick powder until this year. Funny fact, huh? So as you can see, I'm just laying it on here. And I love these nice big pieces. It makes the job go much faster, but the little pieces, do not throw them away. They are totally reusable. And yes, this is a little bit time consuming and a lot messy, but stick with me, I have a tip for you. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to take my sponge and just polish. And as you can see, that is pressing those flakes into the tape and removing the excess. Okay, so I'm just popping off the worst off my sponge, and that sponge is dedicated to gilding flakes. this is my secret. A used bounce sheet. This cleans this stuff up like nobody's business. Can you see that? It just removes that static so that you can get the majority of it. See, there goes one flying, but the majority of it back into your case. So don't use a new bounce sheet. It doesn't work as well. Use a used one. Next time you do a load of laundry, just save your bounce sheet. And then when you have all this stuff on your desktop, this bounce sheet just picks it all up. Good tip, huh? All right, we're going to need that again in a few minutes because we're not done. Now I'm going to bring this back in and show you what it looks like. Isn't that beautiful? And just run your finger along the edge. Okay, so this is what this is going to look like on this card. Beautiful, huh? All right, now I am going to bring in my Stamparatus. My dirty Stamparatus. Look at this. I need to find my cloth and clean this off. Okay. Now, back to these pieces of scrap. DSP. I thought that I would stamp the flowers and the stem on here. How's that for different? Hey Melanie, good to see you. Hey Ann, thanks for joining us. Glad you're here. All right, so I was thinking I'm going to do the flower there. And I thought, oops, stamp just went flying. I thought I would put the leaves down here, oops, let's turn the stamp over, into the purple, like so. I'm digging for another magnet because these photopolymer stamps are pretty sticky. So I think I'm going to go like that. And I was going to stamp it in black ink, but I have changed my mind. I am going to, I kind of wanted some of the color to come through. I think I'm going to use Versamark ink. And I'm going to emboss it in black. I may not like this. I haven't tried this. This was just an idea in my head. Yes, Carol, dig it out and use it, girl. I have something, a piece of tear and tape on my thumb. All right, so I'm going to stamp this in Versamark ink. Oh, did you see what I just did? I forgot to use my embossing buddy. Not cool. In this instance, it's going to be okay because we're going to be cutting these out. So I'm just going to set this aside for a minute. I'll clean those stamps in just a minute. And I am going to add some of the black embossing powder. So this is just a little test to see if we like this. If we don't like it, that's fine. We can just stamp it in black. It's not a big deal. We'll never know if we like it until we try it, right? So as you can see, there's little pieces here, there, and everywhere because I did not use the embossing buddy. I am going to try and find a paintbrush and just quickly, any that are really close. I'm sorry I'm not on camera, but I need the light sideways. There. I've cleaned up most of that. Now I'm going to turn on my heat tool. It's going to get noisy for a minute. I apologize for that, but it should not take long to melt this powder. There we go. Ooh, that gun's hot. There we go. See how shiny that is? That's the look I was wanting. All right, now I'm going to clean off these stamps. I'll give them a good cleaning afterwards on my Stampin' scrub, but right now they're getting a quick clean and a promise of a better clean later. All right, now I have this stamp, and we are going to put this back in the Stamparatus. This time I'm going to be smart and use the embossing buddy. And I'm being very generous with that. Now I am going to get my big head in the camera. And I apologize for that. This is not perfect anyway, but I wanted to line it up as best as I could. We're going to stamp with Versamark again. And now this is something I have not done before. I will not lie. I've never stamped Versamark over a heat embossed image. So this may be a total fail. I'm going to take it out, move this aside, and we are going to go into the heat and stick powder now. This is a test. Ooh, it worked perfectly. Check that out. So yes, you can add Versamark over top. Now we have to melt that heat and stick powder.
And this is going to go very, very quickly because my gun was already preheated. All right, now we are going to bring back our scrap paper. We are going to bring back our gilding flakes. And wherever there is sticky, we're going to apply these flakes. You just see me using my finger to push it along, and I'm using my finger because I want to feel where they're sticky. On this image you can't tell because it's all glossy, so I have to feel my way. And it feels like I have it all. So now I'm going to just take my sponge and polish. And whatever is not attached to adhesive underneath will come off, like so.
All right, now where's my used bounce sheet? I'm just going to wipe that off. Check that out. Isn't that pretty? Now I'm going to do the same thing as I did before, just use the bounce sheet to get these flakes where I want them, and hopefully the majority go back in the container. Success! There we go. We are safe. And the bounce sheet will clean off your desktop. Okay, so now we are going to bring in the baby boss. And let me get this stuff out of the way. Oops. 1, 2. Buckle my shoe. Actually, I'm going to snip this in half. This is DSP, and I am just going to be a little bit careful with it. I don't want the lines on the... I'm going to turn it this way so I can see. Sorry about that. And I'm seeing that we're going to be needing washi tape because this DSP is very much warped from the heat. So I have some washi tape here. And I'm just going to take a little bit of the sticky off it by putting it on my pants because this is DSP. I don't want to tear it. And I'm trying to stay on the outside in case it does tear. And we'll put another piece down here. All right. Now let's get this plate on and off we'll go. Check that out. Isn't that cool with the orange and pink in the background? And as you can see, it's going to destroy the DSP. So we'll just pull the die out. And when we do this one, we'll have to use new tape. Actually, this one may not need tape. And there are our leaves. All right. So we'll get this little guy out of our way. And we'll bring our card front back in. So I think what I'm going to do is put this guy down flat. And then I'm going to put this guy on dimensionals. I think that's what I'm going to do. And I'll probably have to use quite a few dimensionals on that flower because it is DSP and it is warped. And if you're wondering, that is Tombow in that little bottle. Tombow is always, always my adhesive of choice. And don't laugh, ladies, I am going to pepper the back of this with dimensionals because I want it to look nice. We've put a lot of effort into this card, so
We don't want to ruin it with saggy middles and curling flowers. And one more. There we go. Oh, I love all that shimmer and shine. All right, so far so good. Now, as I said, I have kept some of these scraps. I still have 2 scraps left of DSP. So I am going to use them. In this art gallery bundle, there was this die. I pre-cut 2 of those so that I had those ready. I'm just going to stick these dies back in the case, and I am going to use I need a greeting here. Let me see what I can choose. I think I'm going to use congratulations. That works for me. And I'm going to stamp it on the DSP. I just thought it would look cool and different. Instead of, I think white would stand out. I mean, I could heat emboss it, but I'm going to stamp it on the DSP. All right. May the force be with me. All right. Oh, that's not right. I'm going to slide that down a bit because I'm going to die cut this. So I need to make sure that I have enough room around it. There, that's good. All right, I am going to do this in Versamark because I want to continue with the shiny black. And did you see what I just did? Once again, no embossing buddy. Please, ladies, do not do what I do. I am not leading by good example today. And to be honest, I do that more often than not. I forget my embossing buddy. And I've had some real catastrophes, believe me. So try to always remember. Pardon me, I had to have a sip of coffee. I have a dry spot in my throat. All right. And as you can see, there's lots of spots where it's stuck where I don't want it to. So we'll have to take care of those. Just easier if you use your embossing powder, embossing buddy from the get-go. Okay, gonna get loud again, ladies. There we go. Now we are going to bring in Baby Boss again. And I'm going to need that die back. 1 and 2, our paper, our die. Try to center that up as best as I can. Oh, I have the hippie shakes. My top plate, and we're good to go. Yes, Pam, I love mine too. I like that I can fit it in the camera very, very easily. It's going to be a godsend when I go to the trailer in the summertime, if summer ever gets here. All right, so you're probably wondering why I cut these. Well, I'm going to show you. The first one I am going to cut in half lengthwise. And the second one, I am going to go, this is the end bump, the second bump in, and I'm going to cut that off. And I'm going to do the same thing, not the end bump, but the second one in, and cut it off. This is garbage. So this little piece, we're going to miter so that only the end bump is showing. So that's what it's going to look like, just a little wedge with 3 bumps on the end. We're going to do the same thing to the other end. And you'll see why I did that in just a second. I'm going to put a dot of glue there. And then I'm going to put my DSP down into it and press. So you see the shadow effect that that's having there? I'm going to do the same thing to the other end. A dot of glue there. Oh, that one wasn't quite as graceful. Press that one down into it and make sure they're lined up. You want them lined up as best as you can. Now I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to run a line of the glue right close to the edge. Once again, I'm going to flip it over. And line up those little teeth. And that tombow will give you just a second of wiggle room. And then we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Well, that didn't work. Can't do that left-handed. And there's the second wiggle room. And now our greeting is matted. And you can do that trick with most die cuts and most punches. Just cut them in half lengthwise and then cut them in half the opposite way and just do what I just showed you and put it all together. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to put congratulations. And yes, my greeting's a little speckled here and there because I didn't use the embossing buddy, but this is kind of an artsy-fartsy card, so I'm going with it. Now I'm going to bring this in, and we are going to pepper the back of this with dimensionals. And the only reason I'm doing this is because it's DSP. It needs to be well supported. And And let's face it, I put all this work into this card. I want it to look nice in the end. All right. Now these side strips, I'm going to cut these and we're going to use them. This is a perfect opportunity to use these so we don't have any saggy middles. Just like so. All right. Now after I peel all these off, it'll only take me half an hour. We will get this put on our card front. All right. Now, I have to hold this up. I apologize, but it's pretty much a one-shot deal here. There we go. There we go. So there, we have that done. Now, if I so desired, I could use a piece of that to decorate the inside, or I could just stamp one of the flowers on the inside. But to finish the outside, I am going to bring in some of the matte black dots. And we're going to sprinkle a few of these around. There we go. That's good enough. I think that turned out absolutely gorgeous. Let me get this up here to the camera. And I hope that you can see all that delicious goodness. Beautiful. Now I'm going to bring in a card that I made earlier. Hi, Shelley. Glad you could join us. Here is one I did where I did it all the way around the outside. But if you look really closely here, you can see where I didn't overlap properly, and that bothers me. So that's why I told you to overlap the full way here. And this is the same DSP, just a different piece of it. And this one I stamped and then used the heat and stick powder. I did not emboss. This one here I embossed, and I like this one much better. I think it's well worth the second step. Yes, Anne, thank you. It's very a wow card. These gilding flakes just do the work for you. But I like the heat embossing. All right, ladies, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so very much for joining me. I appreciate it, and I hope I've inspired you in some way to get stamping. Bye-bye for now.